Okay, so what is the Ark Project? To understand what is the Ark Project, we have to go back in time 2 years ago, actually, and you have to imagine that a world where a creator could create NFTs, raise money, work hard, and create value, and actually earn fees. And then suddenly, boom, no more fees. Welcome to Web3. At least centralized NFT marketplace Web3. NFT marketplace having centralized order book lead to market fragmentation, that lead to market share war, and that lead to a disempowerment of creators, no more fees. So, given that statement, the Ark Project, with the Ark Project, we aim to build a decentralized NFT exchange protocol to create the opposite effect. Enforce creator royalties, open order book to share liquidity, empower marketplace to help each other actually to get rewarded for that. This is where business meet infrastructure. So the main component of the Ark Project are an open order book, obviously, trading APIs, NFT APIs, indexer, and a forkable front end, so you can bootstrap your own project. So to deep dive into the technical details, Pierre will explain you that.
Yeah, so basically, as Christophe said, building a decentralized order book has some challenges, and here we will give you a quick overview of what we have designed in a day, but it's evolved because we already have some feedbacks, some hacker house feedbacks and people feedback. So this is a design we will show you. It already evolved, but it's interesting to see how it works. So basically, we can start with the user sending a transaction through a marketplace. And this marketplace will add like a signature, just to be sure we know from which marketplace the order is placed. And from this, we can then send the transaction directly to the Ark Project contract on Starknet. And when it's here, then we will run an app chain, so L3, where using the messaging of Starknet, the event that is emitted on the message that is emitted on Starknet will be set on the Ark chain, okay? So the app chain. And once we have the message, then we can process it, we can evaluate the order validity, etc. And then we can also go back on Starknet using also messaging. So, you know, messaging is working between Starknet and Ethereum, but we can also use it for an app chain and Starknet. So basically, when the order is placed, it can then be executed, getting back on the Starknet contract to move the assets then on the NFT or any other smart contract. So the idea here is we can do this with Starknet and we can send the orders on Starknet, but we can also work with app chains. So here at the bottom, we can have app chains talking to the order book to send some orders. So the idea is having a shared liquidity on this app chain, and any marketplace can come, any person can come and check what are the orders, because it's all open, accessible to anybody. And the idea is to build this with Starknet and with app chains. So as I told before, the scheme just evolved a bit, but this is the actual idea, okay? And I wanted to talk a bit about messaging and testing. So for those who don't know about Starknet, messaging is a very interesting way that we can send messages from contract in L1 to contract on L2, and also from L2 to L1. And the messaging is a bit tricky, okay? Because if we go to L1 to L2, we have the sequencer of Starknet listening from the events or the logs on Ethereum. And when it detects the message, it can send a transaction directly to our contract, okay? So that's cool because it's automatic. But it is asynchronous, but it is asymmetric, because if we want to go in the other side, we have to send the message, and Starknet will only carry the message hash, like only an identifier for the message to be consumed securely on the L1. But it means then we also have to make a transaction on Ethereum to consume this message, okay? So it means It's asynchronous because we cannot wait one side to finish, and it's asymmetric because in one sense it's automatic, and the other way it's manual, we can say. We can automate it just with programs, but we need to consume it. So what we did actually is we just derived a little bit this concept. So let's start for the settlement layer. It can be Starknet or any other, but let's take for Starknet. We have the same concept of listening for events. We take an event and we can then fire a transaction exactly as Starknet sequencer is doing. That's fine. That's automatic. And for the other way, we can do the same actually because we can customize the sequencer. So what do is when we use the send message to L1 syscall, we just format a little bit differently the message, and then the transaction of the app chain is able to directly send the transaction on Ethereum. So it means we can have a loop which is fully automatized by the sequencer of the app chains, which is a Starknet sequencer, but just a little bit modified. So it's super interesting how we can derive this, and we use this for the order book. Like this, we have orders coming from events. We don't need any API. Everything is working with chains talking together and sending orders, executing orders, and validating orders. So how did we test that? Because here is the challenge, and I see Alex here about Stark, we're talking about toolings, etc. So basically, integration testing is in Ethereum side. We can use Foundry, which is very nicely tooled with scripts and testing. And in Starknet, we have Cairo testing, which is already built in the Cairo compiler and Cairo language. But we also have a new tool coming like Starknet Foundry. And we are aiming to developing this tool to reach the capabilities of Foundry on Ethereum. So basically, integration testing were made like this. Each chain on each side, it was fine. But then we had to test all of this. Like, how can we test Ethereum talking to Starknet, Starknet talking to app chains? So this is where challenges are a bit interesting. So what we did is we are using Anvil from Foundry. So we spin up Anvil and we can set up Ethereum setup. And then we use two sequencers, Katana and Madara. So mostly Katana for now, because Katana is very nice to test locally, some end-to-end testing. And Madara is very interesting when we try to decentralize with P2P network. So basically what we did is we have our sequencers. We set up our sequencers with a tool, so Foundry and Starknet Foundry. And then we have to make some scripts. For now, it's Bash script, but we have to make some script because we want to initialize each chain, run the test, and at the end of the test, verify that each chain at the correct state in relation with the messages we are expecting in each chain. So this is how we solve this problem, but the idea now is to go a bit further, being able to integrate this in the tooling. Like this, anybody can then test messaging, because messaging is not a feature part, it's completely part of how Starknet works, and it's super interesting that we can integrate it in all the testing sites. So basically this is what we wanted to present today to you, that how messages can be very interesting for cross-chain applications. And yeah, so at the end, Starknet Ark Project, which is around NFTs, is supported by lots of partners from the ecosystem that I think you all know. So we are very lucky to work with these people and trying to propose this infrastructure for everybody on Starknet. And thank you very much.